All right, welcome back to Drush 9, a quick primer for the site builder. Here we're just going to do a quick introduction to three of the commands around configuration. Configuration status, configuration export, configuration import. Now, I am not going to get into the details of configuration management itself. I am assuming you can do that through the GUIs or you're going to find resources on that. Maybe I'll do a video on that at a different time. But for today, we're just going to look at these commands and not bog ourselves down with how does configuration management work in Drupal 8. So here we go, back in my favorite IDE, Visual Studio Code. I'm using Doxel as my local, so I'll type fin in front of any of these commands. You probably don't have to do that if you're not using Doxel. But we're going to look in the config section. So again, I'm not going to go into how Drupal does config management. Just know that we can import, export, and figure out what's going on. And how we figure out what's going on is that last one, config status, or CST. So if I just run fin drush CST, you see that, oh, here we go. Here are all of the configurations that I have set. So this is really handy as just a quick sanity check on seeing, like, did I actually set a config for this? The main reason I've always used this is when I'm building tours or showing off tours, I just use this site to demo some basic tours. I can see which ones have I actually set up. So we can see these are in the database. And we can see the state of them. This is cool. All right, so the next one we're going to look at is export. So fin drush CEX is the shortcut for it, or the alias for it. I could type config : export, and it would do the same thing. And here it's a very simple command. It just exports to a destination folder. And we can put a label in there to actually label our directory we've built. So here I'm going to do a CEX, and we're going to put it, but we're not going to run it with any flags. We're just going to run it as is and see what happens. And here it actually gives me a little GUI menu. So here it said, all right, everything that we've listed out earlier in our status, that's the current state of the world. And it asks us, where do we want to put this YAML file? And it's saying, since you didn't give me anywhere to put this, I'm going to put it in the default, and that is where your active config is. Are you sure you want to do that? I'm going to say yes for now because, well, it doesn't really matter. This is my config. So there we go. We've successfully exported it there. So to import it into the site, so say we're now in my production environment, I do the opposite of that, and that is an import or a CIM. So instead of CEX for export, CIM for import. And we'll just run that real quick. And as expected, it failed because, well, these are identical configurations. But that is how you do it. Again, not getting into the nitty gritty of configuration management, but config status. And let's just scroll back up. We'll scroll back up to config here. And if we want to delete config, this is actually the only way I really know how to do this without going through and actually removing files or deleting fields, deleting rows out of the database, is config delete, but we're not going to do that today. And you can see there are some other options, but that is the basic idea. We can list out with status what is going on, export it with CEX, and import with CIM. So that's part 4, configuration, status, export, and import. If you want to know more about configuration management itself in Drupal 8, there's a ton of resources out there, a lot of talks on Drupal.tv you can look at, and I might put a few down in the description. But come back next time and we'll look at one more thing about Drush 9 to get you going, which I think is a real game changer and I'm very excited about, and that's Drush Generate.